Hi, my name is Thais Gibson, and I'm the co-owner and creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what to do if somebody you're interested in only seems to be reaching out to you when they're intoxicated. So this is based on a question I had from inside of the Personal Development School, one of the members forum questions. And I thought it was an important topic to discuss because a lot of people commented and asked further questions about this, and I can see there's a big need for this topic. So what I want to start by doing is telling you the different dynamics that will be at play based on a person's attachment style and why they would reach out specifically when they're intoxicated, what some of the deep sort of subconscious motivations for this would be, and then what you should know and be able to take away from it. So number one, if a dismissive avoidant attachment style individual reaches out when they're drinking, this is largely because dismissive avoidants are in this like framework all the time of operating from their feelings minus their fears. And what happens when you are drinking? Well, when you're intoxicated, your inhibitions are lowered, your fears are not so strong. And so you see more of that person and how they would be if they were in their feelings. Now, the problem is that if somebody's coming from, let's say they're, 8 out of 10 feelings and 7 out of 10 fears, okay, fears of vulnerability, commitment, emotional intimacy, these sorts of things, then you're only getting this like very small output when you subtract one from the other. And here's the really interesting thing. A lot of people, when they hear this, they'll go, oh, so this is what's possible. This is how the dismissive avoidant would be all the time. That's actually what they're feeling. That's the reality. And that's not the case. The reality is that this is how the person will show up unless they are doing internal work, unless they are reprogramming their fears, working on those subconscious fears. Because at the end of the day, the conscious mind does not outwill or overpower the subconscious mind. So we're going to keep getting the same output unless those subconscious programs, patterns, and limiting beliefs that create the fears, for example, vulnerability is unsafe, actually are being reprogrammed. So yes, that could be how the person is if their inhibitions are lowered, if they're not so fearful. But then also some of our natural impulses are heightened. Some of our biological impulses are heightened when our inhibitions are lowered. So it does still continuously like skew how somebody would naturally show up if all those limiting beliefs and programs were gone. And so what you have to do if you're, with the dismissive avoidant, you have to ask yourself, if this is the only time they're reaching out, then is this what I want? And maybe your answer is yes. Maybe you don't want commitment in a dynamic either, and that's perfectly fine. What matters is that you take yourself into consideration, see what's fair for you, tune into yourself, and then make those decisions and choices from the inside out. Then we have our fearful avoidant. Our fearful avoidant, and this is something that's really interesting, when they reach out, specifically when they're intoxicated, their deactivated fears are removed. So their fears around not being able to trust somebody when their inhibitions are lowered, not feeling like they are safe in a relationship dynamic, or not feeling like somebody would lie or cheat or betray in some way, or being less fearful of somebody rejecting them. These sorts of dynamics are more prevalent for the fearful avoidance. So if they're reaching out only when they're drinking, again, it still shows like minimal investment from this person, but a lot of their limiting beliefs and fears have dissipated in this dynamic, and that's something to be aware of. Now, the interesting thing about the fearful avoidant is that they can be reaching out from this space a little bit more so because they're also activated. They want attention, connection, those like biological impulses are triggered more. And anybody who's an anxious side to them, that's actually going to be even a little bit more heightened during those times. So you might see the fearful avoidant reaching out for connection, for closeness, for attention, validation, whatever it might be. But again, that does not necessarily mean that there will be some kind of like commitment or interest or sustained investment going on into the next day, right? Just because you were texting a little bit on like a Friday evening when they're intoxicated doesn't necessarily mean this is going to be the Sunday morning conversation that you'll be having, right? So it's important to recognize that as well. And when we have our anxious preoccupied, something really interesting is that they are often going to be pretty much the same. A lot of their fears and motives are on abandonment or on being disconnected. So when they're intoxicated, it's really not, unless they have tried to put all these barriers up for themselves because it's been like a bad breakup or something like that, unless they've like tried to delete your phone number, really try to create that space between you and them. Then you're going to see them reach out consistently, whether they're intoxicated or not, based on how they feel, based on what they want, because their feeling minus fear sort of equation is very, the fear part doesn't take a whole lot away from the feelings, because the fears are minimal. And if anything, the fears are actually working in tandem with their feelings. Like they're feeling afraid of not having that connection. So you'll see those like sort of differences between the different attachment styles. And then what you have to ask yourself as a person is, it's going to depend, of course, on the situation. If it's your ex, is it a recent breakup? Is it somebody that you're really interested in, but things never really take off? Is this a friend of yours that you have a romantic interest in? Obviously, the situations are so different. But what you really need to ask yourself is, what kind of investment would I like from this person? And how can I set the standards in the way that I communicate and invest that match that investment I would have back? And this isn't from a place of like manipulating or building rapport to get them to like you or anything like that. It's literally coming from a place of, I'm going to uphold my boundaries for how much connection I would like to have. I'm going to make sure I have standards for how much I would like to communicate. If you're just looking for some kind of like fun hangout and no commitment, then if somebody texts you when they're drinking, that's fun. That's like a laugh and you can enjoy sort of flirting back and forth. But if this is something you're looking to turn into something more sustainable or long term, then you have to hold yourself to certain standards for how you are communicating. So it's an important sort of audit to take on your behavior and the way that you respond, and also a really important way of showing up in the relationship to yourself, to make sure that you're honoring your own needs, expectations, and boundaries. Hopefully this helps. Lots of questions around here. Feel free to let me know any questions you have in the comments below about how to respond to somebody if they text you when they're drinking or whatever it might be. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.